this video is going to be the story of Lania, which is my first daughter that passed away at 15 days old. This is going to be kind of like a, I don't know if I'm going to mesh them together or do two separate videos, but at the hospital where she passed away, every October is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. And at the hospital where she passed away, they do a walk to remember is what it's called. And it's kind of sort of a walk in honor of all the babies that were lost in that hospital. We have gone every year since Lania passed away, and they've invited us. So I kind of want to vlog that. I'm gonna talk to them when I get there tomorrow and see if that's okay, but I kind of want to vlog it so you guys can see any parents that have lost babies before, maybe reaching out to your local hospital to see if they do something like that. I honestly feel like that helps me so much in my grieving process, because I feel like when I'm there, everyone in there is there because they're going through what you're going through. They lost a baby, they're mourning them, so it's like you always feel like when you lose a baby that you're alone, kinda, because you don't know who else has gone through your pain. And when you're there, everyone in there is going through what you're going through, so it's kind of easy, you know what I mean? I hope I'm explaining that right. But I guess I'll start off. I might get emotional. I can already feel myself getting emotional. I am very good at talking about her without crying. It's about to be 5 years in January 22nd when she passed away, and she was born January 7th. She only lived 15 days, and this was back in 2015. So I am fairly good at talking about her without crying. But since it's going to be 5 years, I don't know, this year has been hitting me harder, I guess. I did lose another baby. I had a miscarriage. I was 8 weeks. My baby stopped growing at 5. So I think that's why it's getting harder for me this year, just because it's now twice that I've gone through this. So just a fair warning. But Lania was born January 7th, 2015 at around 10:30 in the morning. She weighed 2 pounds 6 ounces. She was 19 feet in length. She was a fairly long baby for a baby born at 29 weeks. She was a premature baby. The reason why she was born prematurely is because I got preeclampsia. Preeclampsia is a disease that pregnant women can get. It mostly comes out in like teenage moms, and I believe moms over 40 is kind of where the age of preeclampsia can hit. And what it does, it can mess with your kidneys, your liver, and your brain. You can get seizures with preeclampsia. You get high blood pressure, and those are the only symptoms I can remember. I was 27 weeks when we took a road trip to Texas to visit family there. And on my way there, I got very swollen. I have a picture of my feet. I will insert pictures throughout this video of Lania, of how swollen I was. And when we got there, we kind of just figured it was swollenness from the trip. So I kind of took care of myself a little bit. We ended up having to cut our trip short. We had a family emergency back here in Iowa, so we had to cut our trip short. When we came back, I want to say 2 or 3 days of us being here, my daughter's father had proposed to me, and he gave me an engagement ring. We put that ring on my finger, and around 2, 3 in the morning, my finger was turning purple, and we could not get the ring off. We tried everything we could, and I went to the hospital to get the ring cut off. And when I got there, the nurse that was assisting me with the ring situation saw how swollen I was, and my blood pressure was at 192 over 196. She was very concerned on how high it was. and she just didn't feel right letting me leave, because before then my pregnancy had been extremely healthy. And so they did blood work and they had me pee in a cup so they can check for protein levels in my urine. And once they did all that, the ER doctor came in and he told me that I had severe preeclampsia and they were gonna have to take me to labor and delivery because I was dying, and so was Linnea. When I got upstairs, they kept having me do urine tests so they can check the protein, because they could not believe how much protein was in my urine and how okay I felt. I honestly felt perfect. I didn't feel like anything was wrong, and my kidneys at this point were not working at all. And around 6 in the morning, I went to the hospital by myself in the middle of winter. Around 6 in the morning, I asked a doctor and I said, hey, is it okay if I call someone to be here for me? Because I'm by myself. And the doctor said, honey, like, you need to call someone now, because they were calling not hotels, they were calling hospitals to see what hospital had room for me and for my daughter in the NICU. The NICU is the wing in the hospital where they take care of the premature babies. So they were trying to figure out if both hospitals, one was about 45-50 minutes away and the other one was about half hour, 2 hours away. So they were trying to figure out which hospital had room for me and my daughter if she were to be needed to be born that day. So at 6 in the morning, I called my mom, and I feel so bad because I could just imagine my mom's pain. I straight up just called her and said, Ama, no paniques, but I'm in the hospital y me están diciendo que va a tener que nacer la niña hoy. And she was like, Lena, I thought you were in the room. And I'm like, no, I'm in the hospital. I've been here since 3, so I need you to come because they're transporting me soon and I'm by myself. So she got there, and it's 5 minutes after she got there, I got transported to the hospital that was 45 minutes away. They were able to stabilize my blood pressure. It was still high, but they had it leveled to where it wasn't reaching any higher. And I was 28 weeks at this point. They were trying to keep me in the hospital till about 32 weeks, so that would have been 9, 30, 32, about 4 weeks in the hospital, monitoring me, and giving Linnea more time to be in my belly and grow more, because the risk of her survival were higher if she could be born at 32 weeks versus 28 weeks. So I was in the hospital for a week, and one night I started seeing kind of yellow spots in my vision, and they did blood work, and it turned out my liver was also failing. Since the next thing to fail would have been my brain, doctor came in at 8 in the morning and said, you guys are going to be parents today. They gave me a book to read on anything that had to do with babies born at 29 weeks. She was born a healthy baby. She was only born prematurely because my body could not handle the pregnancy anymore. So she was born and she was perfect. She was healthy. She was pretty advanced for most babies born at 29 weeks is what the doctors used to tell me. She was in the NICU. I would call every day since I did live fairly far from the hospital. I could not be there for her every day. I also had a C-section, so I had to take care of myself as well. So my mom, being the Mexican mom that she is, she did not let me leave. When she was born in January, middle of winter. It was one of the coldest winters that year. So my mom also didn't let me go visit her often because I did have a C-section and I needed to take care of myself. So I would visit her almost every chance I could. And she was doing great. The last night that I saw her perfectly fine, She was sleeping when we left. She was doing good. The next morning, around 7 in the morning, I got a call, and they were just telling me that she had an infection. She was going to be okay, but they just wanted to give me a heads up, and that they were going to call me if anything more came up. And after that call, I couldn't go back to sleep. I couldn't stop thinking about her. And I messaged my mom, and she said, you know what, just pack a bag and go to the hospital and stay there, and we'll figure it out. Around 9, I got another call, and they were just telling me that I needed to stay close to the phone in case the doctor needed to speak to me. At that point, I started pumping because I would give her breast milk just in case if she needed any. I didn't want to pump in the room full of doctors. Since she had an infection, I knew they were going to be coming in and out, so I didn't want to pump in the middle of them checking her. So I decided to pump a little bit before heading to the hospital so I could already have milk there. And as I'm pumping, it's probably now around 10:30. I get a call, and the doctor tells us we need to get there right away. So I head there. My mom was taking college courses in a college nearby. She was closer to the hospital than I was. So she left in the middle of class and headed to the hospital to wait for me and her dad there. And we didn't get there until about 11:20. As we were outside of the hospital, I got another call from the nurses asking us where we were at. And I told her, oh, we're downstairs, and they just hung up on me. When we got to her room, as we turned into her room, there was about 3 or 4 nurses there, and they kind of just stared at us, and one of the nurses said, those are her parents. And one of the nurses took us out of the room. She shut the door, and a doctor came over, and she handed me a clipboard with some papers, and she told me that they were waiting for a doctor to come and be available so that he can perform an emergency surgery, and her chances of making it through that surgery were 50%. So I needed to sign the papers to make sure that I was aware of that. And all I remember is just sitting down. They had chairs for us outside in her room, and I just sat down. My mom hugged me. I signed the papers. They let us in, and when we were in the room, they already had her on life support. So we were there for her while they were prepping her. And then we had to leave. They couldn't take her to a surgery room. She was too weak. So they decided to perform the surgery in her room. When we were out in the waiting room, the doctor came out, and he told us that they thought the infection was in a piece of her intestine, but when he went in there because they were going to cut her intestine, they were going to cut the infected piece out and kind of sew the rest of her intestines together and then let her recover from that. But when he went in, he saw that it was her whole intestine. So what he did was take her intestines out, and he put them in a bag, and it was just up to her now to fight the infection because she was too tiny for them to do like a transplant of her intestines. So they put them in a bag, and we were hoping for the best. She lived another day. That night I stayed at the hospital with my mom so we can be close by. At 4 in the morning, at around 4 in the morning, one of the doctors came in and told me I needed to go, and they pretty much told me that she was not improving at all. She was only worsening. At around 9, the doctor came in again and told me and her dad that we were gonna have to decide if we wanted to take her off life support or continue to have her and keep on fighting, but that it was not looking very good. At around 10, they came again and asked us the same thing, that they needed to know a decision. Part of me wanted to keep her on life support. I didn't want to let her go. But the other part of me wanted to let her rest. If I knew that she wasn't going to get better, why was I keeping her on life support? And she was just suffering and hurting. But her dad didn't want to. He said he didn't want to take her off, and then us realized that there was a chance she could have made it and us live with the guilt. And we stood up at her bed. I wiggled my finger into her hand, and she just held on to my finger. And I asked her dad one more time, I said, "So what are we gonna do?" And as soon as I finished saying that, she grabbed onto my finger and all her machines went to zero and she passed away. After that, they took her off everything. They took her off the machines. They put on a little white dress for her and they let us hold her, and they took pictures of us. I don't have those pictures on my phone. They are on a CD disc at my parents', and I don't have a computer to send them to my phone or anything. But they took pictures of us at the hospital, of our last moments with her. Probably tomorrow I'll film the box. They gave us a box with molds of her arms and feet. I have one arm and one foot, and her dad has the other foot. And it's kind of just a memorial box that they gave us with a piece of her hair, her name tag, all the tags that she had, her pacifier, her headband that they had for her. They gave us the rest of the day to see her and be with her. It was honestly one of the hardest days of my life. It was being there, knowing she was gone. I remember I ended up falling asleep in the lobby, and when I woke up, I looked at my mom and said, "Mom, I just had a very bad dream." And I looked around and I saw all my family there, and it was kind of like it sinked in again that she was gone and it wasn't a dream. My family ended up leaving. I left and we went over to her dad's aunt's house, and we were there for a little bit while they prepped her and everything, because they were gonna send her off to the funeral home, and they were prepping that memorial box for us. And when I went back to go get that box and held her for the last time, I didn't want to leave. After a while, one of the nurses came in and said, "Honey, it's time." She took Linnea from me and she handed me the memorial box. And as I was walking down the hallway to exit the floor, all over the walls were pictures of babies that made it. It was their before and after stories, I guess. Their stories of them being in the NICU and their stories of their lives after. Halfway down that hallway, I just broke down. I never thought I was gonna leave that hospital without her. And the fact that I did was very, very painful. One of the nurses just said, "Are you okay? Do you want me to call someone?" And I told her I just needed a minute. And once I made it off the floor, I was in the lobby and I cried some more. And then in the elevator, And then in the parking lot, I just didn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave without her. I never thought I was going to have to leave without her. It was so hard. The night before, I had called and they told me she was fine, she was healthy. So I don't know what happened from around 10:30 p.m. to 7 a.m. that night. That after me losing her was very hard. I fell into a very deep depression. I used to not leave my room. I didn't work. I lived at my parents'. And I completely changed as a person. And I had an amazing support system. My parents and my sister and a lot of my family were there for me. But I felt like I couldn't talk about her because I wasn't the only one who lost someone. My parents had just lost their first grandbaby. My sister had just lost her first niece. How can I, like, it wasn't just a wound for me, so I always felt like I didn't want to talk to them because I didn't want to open their wounds. I didn't know how they were healing. I didn't know how they were dealing with it. So I didn't want to be selfish, so I kept a lot of my feelings to myself. And I feel like that just sent me into a worse depression, was holding it in for so long. And kind of recovering from it, that's kind of where makeup came into my life. I started watching YouTube videos, watching Nicole Guerrero, Jaclyn Hill, and they kind of took me out of my funk. I always felt like I was so alone. Especially during my depression, I contemplated suicide a few times. And one day, it almost happened, and that's when I told my parents that I really needed help. I didn't like going to the doctors. The first thing they wanted to do was put me on medication, and I didn't want medication. I didn't want to depend on something to be happy. I wanted to be happy because I was truly happy. I didn't want something to make me happy. And I ended up moving to Texas for about a few months, and it kind of helped get me out of that funk. I'll never forget Linnea. She was my first baby. She was so perfect. I always wish she was here still. But, you know, God does things for a reason. If she would have lived, she was going to have to grow up with her intestines in a bag until she was old enough and healthy enough to get that transplant. So part of me is always like, you know, what life does a child have if they can't live their childhood to the fullest? She wasn't going to be able to play with her cousins normally. She wasn't going to be able to go to the swimming pool. She wasn't going to be able to have a normal childhood because she was going to have to live with that. And I don't know what would have been harder, living with her and watching her suffering, or living without her and just me suffering. But like I said, God does things for a reason. He knows why he took her, and he has his reasons. I might not ever know the answer as to why he decided he needed to take her. I know when I was in that hospital and they told me that it was to the point to where it would have to be me or her, and I wanted them to save her, my parents and her dad wanted them to save me, and I was so mad that they chose me and not her. But they kept saying, you know, you can have another Linnea. We can't have another you. But I wanted her. And then being in the funeral home, I had a little cousin tell me, why did God take her? That I was her mother. If she was sick, I could have taken care of her, you know? And I just wish I knew. Her funeral, her box was yay big, the size of a shoebox. It was so small. I only had her for 15 days, but I cherish those 15 days so much. I wish I could have had more, but God does things for a reason, and He took her for a reason. He wanted His angel back. And He chose me to be the mom to give her baby back. Hi guys, it's the next day from filming. I don't know if I'm gonna add this to the end of my part 1 or if I'm just gonna, this is gonna be the beginning to my second video, but I'm at my mom's and I have my memory box for Linnea, so I'm gonna kind of show you guys what's in there. Also, this is the look I did for the walk this year for Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. Mom. The box, it's a little bit dirty. It's been 5 years since we had it, and we have like an angel on top of here and pictures on top of here to hold. This is what it looks like. When you open it, it has little booties and this like little dress. This is the photo album that they gave me at the hospital. It doesn't have all the pictures, it just has some. I wish I would have my nails done, but this is the little paper of when she was born, her footprints and my thumbprint, the time that she was born, the day, where. These are my ultrasound pictures of her. They put her little hair in this little envelope. This was her little nameplate that she had in her incubator. This is the title to the spot at the cemetery. That the paper saying that we did an emergency baptism on her before she passed away. And this is the disc with all her pictures. That's what's in the first pocket. I'll fix it right now. In the second one, we have, this was her little thing around her toes to check her blood pressure. Her band. This is my band. I could not take this off while she was in the NICU because they had to scan this code to make sure that I was her mom. And this is just a random rock that I put in here. But every year for this walk, they do different things. One year it was butterflies. There's another little name tag that she had. This is a little tape that they used to measure her with. These are other pieces from other walks that we've been to. And this is our ornament that we put on the Christmas tree every year. It says our baby in heaven and then her name and her birthday. That's on this last box. We have, this thing came together with this flower. Again, it was 1 year for the walk. They did flowers. This is a butterfly. We like to, like, butterflies to us is Linnea, so we have a butterfly. Another band from the hospital. This was her pacifier. Y'all, one time Yaya got into this box and she sucked on it, and I was so mad because this still smelled like Lania, and now it smells like Yaya. This was her little hat. This was her little headband, and that was her diaper, guys. This is a diaper that we got in the mail for like a sample of her diapers, and this is a newborn. And this was the one that she actually used. So tiny. And these are again from walks, memories from walks that we've been to over the years. More. And then this little thing. And one of her other pacifiers. This is another box that one of my dad's co-workers, I believe, gifted this to us. This little box, one of my aunts from Texas, she gave me this box. She gave me two, one for me, one for her dad. And in here, this little outfit came with the box. And here's where I have, this is a plate that they gave us with her footprints. And this is a mold of her hand.
Go with you don't tell her now.
And this is a mold of her foot. This box, I just have more things from walks and stuff that they had gifted Lania when we found out she was, I was pregnant. All this is stuff that people gave us, and I just keep them in here for her. So we're at the hospital already. We got here like an hour early. We're usually like really late, so we're walking to the Starbucks inside the hospital. These are our shirts for this year. It says 15 days in our arms, forever in our hearts. And on the sleeve it says 5 years. And in the back of mine it says mommy. In the back of my dad's it says grandpa. Then tia for my sisters, and abuela for my mom. And then Yaya has one and it says sister in the back. I also asked and they said I can film, so I'm gonna film while they give the speech, and I'll film when we are walking around. We just took a walk around outside of the hospital trying to get to a Starbucks, and when we get there it's closed and we're tired AF, but life. There because there was a lot of people, but this year we got to do hands that say I love you, and I put this message for baby girl, and then I got this for baby junior, and one of these for Lania, and we're gonna put these in the angel garden. We're waiting for the thing to start. Hold on, my dad's trying to take a family picture. We're waiting for the event to start. It starts in about 10 minutes, I think, but I will be filming so you guys can see everything. That's my mom. Yeah, mama?
And that's true for you, their parents, their grandparents, their extended family and friends, and as your care providers, our hearts broke for you. Yesterday I was at a wedding, and the officiant said this: people come into our lives for a reason, for a season, or for a lifetime. And with today's event at the forefront of my mind, I thought instantly of those precious babies. They exist for a reason and for a lifetime. Know what I say, exist and not existed. Our love experienced and understand the immeasurable sense of loss that you do. So I ask you to reach out to these groups and unite for each other. You are certainly not alone in your journey or alone today on our walk. God bless you all, and thanks for coming. We light them for the joy of anticipation and preparation. The times we cried and mourned, the times we were angry with each other, the dreams.
Children that dance and children that sing. Children that cuddle all kinds of live things. Children with freckles and dimples and bows. Children that run through sprinklers and hose. children that color on paper and walls, and ones that love stomping and jumping in puddles. Children that ask, what is that for? And spill glasses and glasses that melt on the floor. Children that laugh and children that cry and constantly ask mommy and daddy, why? But I have one that is different, set apart from the rest. One I've never known the joy of nursing at my breast. One we cannot cuddle. One we cannot hold. Though we will in our hearts as we grow old. The child I cannot rock when stormy is the night, or tucked snugly into bed with the fading of day's light. So here with me now, 4 is all that you see. All 5 children, I sing with the rest of the sky. 4 that can run and 1 that can fly. Some of you have been here other years and seen this song. I sigh, I love you, the sky.
Presentation is like done, so now we're going to walk. So we're just making our way to the elevators so that we can go downstairs and start the walk. While we're walking, we usually walk around the whole hospital, but since it's a little bit chilly and there was a lot of kids today, they changed it and we're just gonna walk like around the parking lot and then meet up at the garden, and it's called the Garden of Angels. And there we have a rock that we put for Lania a few years ago, but I think I'm gonna make another rock and bring it for Baby Junior so Lania and Baby Junior can have their rock. Yaya's in the stroller. My fan is coming, and this is kind of where we're gonna walk. We're going to walk down the sidewalk, around the corner, and then down the parking lot, and then like work our way back. Acaba de tumbar a mi niña y se la hace chiste. Y mi papá viene solo. Si la mamá dejar el teléfono. Es que estoy haciendo cosas importantes. The walk is over. We are going to buy some pizzas. Kind of every year after the walk, I either do a cookout or buy food. Kind of a way to say thank you to my family for coming with me and supporting me and keeping Lania's memory alive. They were giving out cookies and they were giving out ornaments this year as like they always give like gifts as a thank you for coming, And I got a girl ornament for Linnea, and I also got a blue one for baby Junior. So I'll see you guys when we get back to the house. I was about to take my makeup off and I remembered that I didn't end the vlog thing. So after the walk, we got some pizzas and some breadsticks from Pizza Hut, and my family went over to my parents and we kind of ate and talked about how my family, I don't really have much family here in Iowa, but one of my cousins that I do have here in Iowa, she has been going and supporting like me with my journey with Linnea all 5 years. So we were just talking about how she's been there through all 5 of them and how it's been 5 years, and you know, it's a little bit crazy. But after that, I just came home. I'm doing laundry, so if you hear the dryer, that's what it is. And I washed dishes and I cleaned the kitchen and the hallway and my room because it was a mess. Yaya's running, so the door's about to pop open. But yeah, that was kind of the walk. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I didn't get many videos, but I hope you guys got the point. I really, really, really love that the hospital provides that walk for us, because I feel like it does help so much seeing how many other people are going through what you're going through and you're not alone, you know. It's just so pretty, and I honestly feel like it's one of the best things that has helped me with losing Linnea. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!